Okay, welcome to everybody who's joining. We're going to give it a minute, let everything and everyone load. Oh goodness, we have about 50 people here today. So that's wonderful. I think most of you know I'm Joanne Vaughn. I'm the Executive Director of Maryland Federation of Art. And we are here for our Winter Member Show Awards and Juror Talk. The other thing I want to mention is that this is a member show. So as members, you all either have gotten or you will be getting a letter about Collector's Choice. Collector's Choice is MFA's biggest fundraiser. And as a nonprofit, most of our funds come from fundraising. So if you feel like supporting that effort to support what we do to try to help artists get their work out and to make connections in the community through art, then we certainly would appreciate you donating a piece. If you have any questions about that, you can email me. We've been, in addition to being really busy on the Zoom right now, this is the biggest reception we've ever had. This is fantastic. Or the biggest reception we've had since we've been in lockdown. We've had this many people in the gallery, but I think we're still a few months before we can have everybody back for wine, and the idea of dip currently scares me to death, but we'll get back there someday. So this is fantastic. We've had a very busy day at the gallery as well. And I think anybody who's been here knows that we're across the street from the State House and next door to the governor's mansion. And everybody in Annapolis is out looking at art, enjoying ice cream, and having a good time on the streets. So we've had absolutely zero protests or any sort of disturbances on the street. And I think that that's absolutely fantastic. Let's us do what we do to help you do something all better. So we're going to start with the awards. The way we'll work this is we have one award that's presented by a couple of donors. The Conleys are a couple that actually live in Missouri. They have a house here, but they spend most of their time in Missouri. He's a doctor with Eli Lilly, and they really like 3D work. And so they donate funds for a 3D prize in each of our member shows. And not only do I want to thank them for their generosity, but I want to point out that if you or anybody you know has a preferred medium and would like to sponsor an award, they can do that. And they should talk to me about it, because what we're trying to do is reward you for the good work that you do. So let's just go to so the Conley Award goes to Sandra Franklin for Last Walk. This is an absolutely fantastic piece. You can't necessarily tell it there around it in the gallery. So it's very fun. So Sandra, are you?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much.
Do you want to say anything about this piece?
Well, it's a piece that I put a lot of feeling into it. It was a way to memorialize my puppy that passed away. So that was the inspiration.
Oh, that's great. That's great. As somebody who has an older lab, and then I have a 5-month-old puppy, it certainly resonates with me that we spend a lot of time. It's an absolutely gorgeous piece.
Thank
you. Evan, let's go back up to the juror's statement. So we were very fortunate to have Erin Lehman pick this show. I want to say to all of you that have worked in this show, this is one of my favorite. This is one of my top 5 shows ever. I've been here 12 and a half years, and you know how many shows we do. And so you can add up how many shows I've seen. And this literally is one of my top 5. I am just wowed by the work. I am wowed by the diversity of the work, by the excellence of the work. And I hope Erin takes this correctly, by the quirkiness of the work. There is a certain sense of humor that runs throughout this exhibition. It is super fun. I hope that everybody who can get down here to see it. It looks amazing in the gallery, but it really is something. Every time you come in, you find something new to sort of giggle about. And sometimes it's something in the artwork. Sometimes it's the title. You guys are extremely clever and good with words. Some of you should write as well as produce artwork. But Erin, I absolutely love this show. I think you did an excellent job. And her juror statement is here. It's also on our website. I'm not going to read it to you, but it is. She says in there that this is the new normal, and I think right now it's so great when artwork can bring some joy, because it's one of the things that we really miss is connecting with people and finding joy in those connections. And I think that's very much reflected in this show. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin and let her guide you through the awards.
Thank you, Joanne. This was so much fun for me to do. I really enjoyed it. And it's in this kind of moment, it's just so wonderful to have the excuse just to really closely look at 516 different works of art. So are you going to put the scroll through as we're talking, or? Okay. This one was, I think, in terms of the humor, that really did strike me. And to me, it's like sort of the very best of, everybody trying to make the best of a really awful situation that's sometimes kind of mildly awful and sometimes just unimaginably awful, and trying to figure it out. And this piece in particular, I felt really struck me in terms of, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this kind of social anxiety especially over the summer when people are sort of starting to open up their bubbles a little bit. And, I remember my friend saying, now I don't have to just wonder whether people like me. Now I'm wondering, am I bubble worthy to these people? Are we good enough friends to have to get together or something? And so that sort of just really was resonating with me when I was looking at this. And the bright colors in it as well were very much sort of appealing as a kind of out there is where you want to be. You want to be with these people, and they're very appealing looking people as well. They seem like people you want to be friends with. So that really struck me, and I really liked the kind of composition as well with the hands around. Oh, Joanne, you're muted.
I am muted. Stacy's on the call.
Yeah, I see you, Stacy.
Stacy, do you want to speak to the piece?
Oh, well, I'm happy that they look like people you'd want to meet because it's my family. And they were being goofy, and we had the same discussion, what you were just talking about, that this is just so strange. And so they modeled for me. But thank you. And it was the very beginning of this, when this was happening. So it was summertime. We were outside, but it's, a matter of how far you're going to go and how close you're going to get to whoever's out there. So very weird experience. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Evan, you want to go to the next slide?
So this one was just really visually appealing to me. I loved the color and the balance of the work. I loved its graphic nature. I loved the mixed media collage aspect of it. It really drew me in. And I felt like it really invited a very close inspection, which was very different than a lot of the works, which were sort of more of a big picture thing. And this one I wanted to really get in there and look closely, and I appreciated that very much.
Okay, Bonnie is on the call.
Hi there. So I actually made this at the very beginning of quarantine as well. I do work usually very small scale. I love detail. So this is mostly made of magazine pages, and I also do some outlines with Sharpie, but I really get in there and see every tiny piece of magazine special and figure out the right place for it. But I'm very inspired by nature and just wanted to create kind of a a beautiful, calm moment at a time when everything was so chaotic. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really reminding me also of the resilience of my students, but also everybody's students who I know, who high school teachers, university teachers, whatever, who were saying last spring, you know, I was so impressed with my students who just found what they had, what they could get their hands on, and ended up creating some really wonderful work that was very unexpected, and really such a joy for all of the professors who were also feeling so stressed out and were really no idea what they were doing, trying to teach, you know, printmaking online or something like that. And just ending up feeling, you know, really feeling good about what their students were able to accomplish with these kinds of found materials, and just how innovative and inventive people were able to become. And that sort of felt like a silver lining for them. So I was also thinking similarly along those lines.
Okay. And our next award? Is Mary Opasek for Scorched Fish.
This one I liked online and I loved in person. It really, it's the scale of it. You know, I mean, I could see how big it was, but the scale of it was so much more than I thought it was going to be, somehow, that I imagined it in my head. The serrated edges of the knives and the rust and the kind of high relief aspect of the bones, and the real, like, the sort of tin face kind of thing that looked, the machine of it. I liked it online. I really liked it in person. I really liked the kind of monochronism that I see in it, and the it's interesting because it's just one of those works that both draws you in and pushes you away at the same time, right? You want to get close, but you don't want to get so close as to actually get cut by it. So I was really grateful in terms of this work to be able to have seen the show in person last week.
So Mary, do you want to speak to the piece? You'll need to unmute.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see me, but anyway, I thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I was thinking, this is really, I do mostly found objects, but this was my first piece I did with a lot of natural bones and little feathers and teeth and whatnot, and of course the old rusty knives. And I was thinking, by the title, I said Scorched Fish. I was thinking about, you know, how sad it is about the oceans and how we're just, you know, killing our fish. And this one I'm thinking is washed up ashore and dead, and, you know, but beautiful yet, you know, I thought. So, yeah, thank you. That's it.
Okay, and our next award?
This is
goes to,
oh,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is another one that I liked online and I loved in person. The sort of delicate nature of the height to the width, I think, was not quite evident online in a way that it was in person, as well as the scale. Because again, you know, you see sizes, but you imagine what it looks like in your head. So yeah, I really liked this, and I really liked the kind of feeling of it being wrapped, right? Where it feels to me, it's not wrapped, but it feels to me like it's wrapped because of the lines on it. Has a sense of like almost bandage wrapping in some way that I found really interesting.
So Nada's on the call.
Hi. So this is inspired, as the title says, by aspen trees just the feeling that I got when I observed the snow surrounding me and just being in an aspen grove. And so the details speak to the, little fun things that you observe on the trunks. And I find Erin's observation interesting, the wrapping feel. And it probably came from the feeling of being surrounded by so many beautiful details and snow. And I guess I tried to capture that moment and maybe save it in a vessel form subconsciously. Yeah, I think that's about it. And thank you, Joanne, Evan, and Erin.
Okay. And the next award is Patrick McKinnon, Impact Driver.
Well, I liked this one from the beginning, but I'll tell you what, this is one my family loved. I have a 6-year-old and 3-year-old boy and my husband, and all of them, I let them scroll through everything and just was asking them, what do you like? What do you see? My poor 6-year-old is just constantly inundated with questions about artwork. And everybody went, oh, right to that one, right to this one. In fact, both of them, Patrick, both of the works that you submitted. And I ended up choosing this one. I was also very drawn to it. The deep detail, and the 3D aspect of it was just so appealing, especially in charcoal, that we all just loved it. And of course, it does sort of, I'm thinking about the whole kind of zeitgeist of this moment, right? And what is everybody up to, right? If it's not gardening or feeding your sourdough starter, it's some sort of home improvement project that we're all up to right now. So when we're not busy hiking. So that's pretty much what we do these days, right? We feed sourdough, we garden, we do home improvement, and we go hiking. And so I felt it has to be in the show for sure.
Okay, I don't know if Patrick's on this call. Patrick, if you are, please unmute and let us know or say something in the chat really fast. But I don't see him. So I think we'll move on.
So I also love this one. As well as the
Juror's Choice Awards.
Yeah.
So now remember, these are chosen by 2 different people. The donors chose this the first time. Erin chose it for a Juror's Choice Award. So
I did, and I didn't know anything about the donor when I chose this, but it certainly spoke to me on a number of levels. I mean, I love that I love that it's wood and resin, and yet it is of something, and very clearly of that kind of soft jacket feeling that it should move, but obviously it doesn't. I like the way it was hung in the gallery. It's not on the wall, but it's hung from wire. And then the title really resonated with me as well. I mean, I thought it was very clearly what it turned out to be about a lost pup. But it also, beyond that, made me think of that kind of, what else did we do this spring in the quiet, in the stillness, in this moment of being out in nature was all like, if COVID was good for anything, it was the dogs. They've been the real winners in this whole thing. Well, them and Jeff Bezos, but just being out so much and having so many walks, and it really sort of made me think of that, the spring and being out in nature and nobody being around and watching the world kind of wake up while everything was in stillness, and feeling like sort of at the ends of the earth. So this, although it's about a lost dog, it also sort of really resonated with me in terms of the moment that we're in. And then visually, it's very appealing. When you look at it, it's another one that my family all really was drawn to as well.
Sandra, is there anything else you want to say?
No, just thank you very much.
Both your pieces are just wonderful hanging here in the gallery. So our next Juror's Choice Award.
So this one, you know, I scrolled past it a few times, and then when I went and I was really looking at it, it just really got me. I just really loved this. And it's the expressions. It's the expressions on all of these guys' faces, first and foremost. They're so individual. They're so different. It's so hard to tell whether this is like a sad moment or a kind of goofy moment for these guys because of the expressions. And I think this guy, you know, the goofy expression may be that he's about to drop it. I'm not really sure. But then as I looked at it more, I was thinking about the fact that they all are working together and their bodies are so close and they're touching each other and they're just kind of team working in a way that we all miss so much. I mean, we may not be carrying such a large statue or whatever this exactly is, but we are all wishing that we could be, you know, supporting each other in person again. And so that really spoke to me as well. But I have to say that it was expressions on the faces that got me.
Wayne, do you want to tell us a little bit about the photograph?
Well, I was in Malaga, Spain, December of 2019, and I was out on the street wandering around looking for subjects and had been photographing for about an hour or so and had turned a corner onto the main drag that goes down into the Mediterranean, and it opens up into a square. And here comes this procession of led by the bishop of some church and this crew of men hoisting this huge statue of probably the patron saint of the church, I'm not sure, coming up the street. And I was just stunned plus intrigued. So I began following it and shooting all different angles as fast as I could and trying to keep people away from in front of the lens. And I got several different views of it that I liked and have submitted in other competitions. And this is my favorite. I have to say, I did enjoy it very much. And I agree that it's the look of the faces and the coordination and the struggle. I mean, I have no idea what it weighed, but it was certainly heavy and difficult to move up the street. Maybe 30 seconds after I took the shot, they actually stopped and they kind of readjusted everything on their shoulders and then moved on. I tried to look up on the city website that has a schedule of events, what church might have been involved with this, but apparently it didn't meet the criteria for being on that site. So I have no idea what the church was. So I certainly appreciate being chosen for a juror's choice. I've been involved with Maryland Federation of Art for several years and have garnered a couple of honorable mentions, but this is a real pleasure to have a Juror's Choice Award. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Well, I'm an art historian, so I love a good art history pun. And there was a couple of really nice ones in this one, but this one was my favorite of the art history puns because first of all, obviously it speaks to the now. And second of all, it's the expression on the face where it's like, it's so tired, right? It's like, I knew everyone was going to make this joke. All right, well, we got it kind of thing. And so it just really appealed to me that he was looking at me going, I knew you'd make an art history pun out of this. And I've seen some really great art history puns when it's come to COVID, but I had seen this one a couple months ago. And so when I loved seeing it visually, and I found that very appealing. And I also am a sucker for green. I really like the greens in this work. So that is why I chose this one.
Okay, I don't see Philip on the call.
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
under.
good. Oh, you're under a different name.
Yeah, under a different name. So first of all, thank you very much. And Joanne, I just want to say for the Maryland Federation of Art, I just think you guys have done a great job with this whole COVID thing and continue to have shows and allow artists the opportunity to submit things. And I really want to thank you for helping keep sanity just in that regard. It's really been a great outlet. This piece was done sort of at the beginning of the pandemic, and I had a lot of Van Gogh inspired moments, feeling trapped in my room. Actually did a piece that was in another show of my room itself that was sort of, like Van Gogh's room during quarantine when he was in, I guess, Arles. And so this piece, at the beginning of the pandemic, with all the things that the judge had referenced in terms of being an art history joke with my ear still intact and a mask hanging from it, seemed to speak to the moment that we were all in and hoping to get out of. It's lasted a little longer than I thought, but this was, it's at least speaking to the moment at the time of feeling trapped in the walls and hoping this thing would end soon.
And Van Gogh is the perfect one because there's that great story of when his brother was going to send Gauguin down to visit him, and he was so lonely and so bored that he painted all the sunflower pictures to hang up for Gauguin because he just couldn't wait for his friend to come. He was so excited. And that's so perfect. Just are we not all just doing that, just sitting around waiting finally for our friends to come and to get out with them?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
No, that's great. And Philip, thank you. I just want to comment on your nice words to MFA. We sat down really early and worked really, really hard on what we wanted the organization to maintain. And the exhibitions were part of it, but we also wanted to maintain the engagement with you all. And I'm really proud of the volunteers and the staff. So, okay, the next slide.
This is one of my very first yeses. As I was making pass through, I was sort of immediately like, yes to this one. To me, it's like a Gilbert Sandler story come to life. He's the guy who does like those little Baltimore history moments on NPR. And I thought that, it had such a perfect kind of retro old school feeling to it that it was appealing. I love the brothers' expressions on their faces. I have two little boys. And the colors were so right for what it's depicting. So I just found it a very appealing piece.
David, you want to tell us about the piece?
So thanks, Erin. So this piece is actually based on an older family photo. That is actually my grandparents' living room. I'm actually the infant in my mother's lap. So I did do a fair amount of kind of research around colors. This was originally a black and white photo. So I did some research around the colors and also some of it based on my memories of my grandparents' home. So I do like to kind of leave enough space in the work so that the viewer can kind of create their own narrative or story and insert themselves into the photos or into the painting. So I really appreciate it. Thanks, Erin.
And I should tell you, Dave, that it was a real toss-up between this and the sisters. So,
thanks. Yeah,
either way.
I think people are yearning, and I don't know whether it's because I'm in my mid-50s, where my friends and family members, where we've started experiencing losses of parents and relatives and friends, but I'm finding people are really drawn towards reminiscing and trying to relive or regain some of that lost history. So thank you.
So, Dave, right before we started this reception, there were 4 people in the gallery, and they were absolutely convinced that they knew who this family was, but they didn't think it was your family. They thought it was somebody else's family, and they they were like, oh, we've got to call Mary and tell her to come down here and look at this, because I know that she's the baby in this. And so I was going to ask you about that they got very, very excited about this.
Yeah, that's great.
So I think it is something that people of a certain age could identify with.
This is another one that I liked online and adored in person. I came into the gallery, and it had been a while since I had chosen the awards, and I came into the gallery on Monday to look at the show and immediately said, did I give this one an award? Let's just make sure that I gave this one an award. I don't think it's, again, the scale was much more intense than I had, or the scale created a much more intense, it looks intense online, but when you see it in person, the intensity is really notched up, the expression on the face. And I hadn't quite appreciated what a deep relief in terms of sculpturally, the 3D aspect of the face mask really coming out at the viewer. And so, it's a very kind of graphic feeling image, especially in person, that I really liked. And I really appreciate this as being a fiber art as well. I thought that was, particularly interesting. It's big. From the chat.
Jane, you want to speak to this? And we've already had a question on what size is it?
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to echo what Philip said. I want to thank you. Thank the gallery and for everything you have done to keep things going. And whenever I get a piece in one of these shows, I'm always so excited because I feel like it's such an honor because of the quality of the other artists. So this piece was actually, if you remember back when the pandemic first started, and there was there weren't enough masks for a lot of the healthcare workers, and people all over were making masks. And I organized a group in my condo complex, and we made masks and sent them all over the country. We mainly focused on hot spots like New York. And this was made largely from remnants that were left over from that. And I kept thinking about these people. I mean, the thank you notes that we got from these people and the pictures from them, and just it just really ran chills over me, what these people were going through. And I thought about the intensity of what the work that they're doing and how they're putting their lives on the line for this. This is larger than life size, so that is an actual mask, but it is a much larger than life size mask.
It's really interesting that you that was your inspiration. When I was looking at the title, I was thinking about the idea that masks are sort of a way that we can show that we love each other, right? Like that's a little bit of love to say, like, I would like to protect you, and then you can love me by protecting me this way. So that's what I had thought about it, but that's very interesting to me.
Thank you very much.
And I would agree with Erin that this is a piece that's much better in person. The woman has eyelashes. I mean, it's very, very detailed. It's the eyes, the white of the eyes is made out of some sort of fabric that's shiny. And so they sort of both glow and then at times look sort of moist, like eyes do when you're caring about something very much. So it's a really fabulous piece. And Jane, thank you for sharing your artwork with us. It really means a lot.
Thank you.
So now I think we're through all the jurors' choice. There's 52 of you on the call. So Evan's going to pull up the sales gallery. If anybody wants to speak about their piece, they certainly can either unmute and sort of wait your turn or raise your hand. I want to kick this off because I have a question for Jim Earle, who is on. Jim is a printmaker. I have seen numerous of many of his black and white prints, which are extremely good. But he did his first one in color that I've seen. And so I just wanted to see if you can find Jim's piece. And Jim, if you're willing to unmute and tell us about this piece.
This is silkscreen, and it's based on a photograph out of the Washington Post of a fire that took place downtown right across the street from the National Gallery. And for some reason, it grabbed me, and I it's been a little while since I really looked at it, but I see the right angles everywhere between the clouds and the smoke from the fire. And I see the street lights coming up and defining a line that goes through the corner of the print, upper left-hand corner. So for me, this is exercise in composition, a color exercise in composition.
Well, I just had never seen any of your work that was in color. And so it struck me the minute it came in the gallery. Now, I also want to ask Frances Vi Wilson to talk about one of her pieces, just because they're very unusual in the medium.
Hi everyone. Oh, thank you, Joanne. Well, the medium is actually something that I found a few years ago. It's the cambium fiber, or the inner layer of bark from the mulberry tree. And I get it from Laos, where it's part of the paper making industry there. But it's harvested rurally and brought to a collective. And before it gets shipped to Thailand, principally to be made into paper, I'm able to get it and dye it. I use natural plant dyes and I form it, and they are life-size. This is the god Poseidon. Seemed like there was a theme today of fish and conservation, and this was done in response to what is happening to our oceans. I'm particularly passionate about octopi, and so out of that grew an interest in what was happening. But were there any other questions, Joanne, regarding this? Am I off topic here?
There's a question in the chat that says, it's from another artist who's in the show, Emil Portencio, because it's one of my favorites, and not just because I'm an oceanographer. Emil is an oceanographer and taught oceanography at the Naval Academy for a number of years. He wants to know where the coral is from.
Oh, it's fish tank coral. So I'm not exactly sure. You can buy it online. They sell it for fish tanks. So I honestly can't tell you.
Okay, and
but I'm assuming it's not an endangered species because it was everywhere. It was everywhere online and very available in every state. So.
Okay, and Bonnie Zuckerman says it has a goddess feel to it, and I thought you might want to address the goddess part of that.
Well, the last series that I've been working on is a series of gods, and I think that there is a need to go back to very fundamental mythology and storytelling in a way of hopefully reinforcing who we are, our values, our morals, our desires. I'm very interested in the mythology behind these pieces. So this is called Poseidon. Do you know his wrath? I think there's an angry Poseidon to answer to.
Okay.
Is there anything else I
does
can add?
anybody else want to talk about? I think that was all that came up. Does anybody else want to speak about their work? You can either raise your hand in the chat or you can just unmute and say something.
Hey, Joanne, I'll talk about morning meeting if you want. Okay, yeah, so the morning meeting at MOURNING, just a play on the, obviously a play on the mourning doves who gather in this hickory in our backyard. But it's also a play on the, we kind of commune with nature to deal with our mourning over the losses from this pandemic. And also you could look at it as a play on the, instead of going to busy morning meetings, we have some time to get out and spend our mornings in our yards or walking in the parks. So the doves are, compared to the other birds that visit our feeders momentarily and then flit away, the doves just sit there. So they're an easy subject to play around with and try to get some nice shots of.
Hey, and
I wonder if I could just say, to point out that Emil's piece, but the end with the title, and then there's others as well, these nature animal shots with these great titles, like The Boys Are Back in Town, which I just love. There's just like 4 or 5 of them in here, and I love these great titles, and they're especially true on these nature images.
Thank you.
No, and Emma, if you haven't been told yet, it sold the other day. So, so congratulations on the sale.
Awesome, thank you.
I really want to thank Erin for selecting an excellent show. It was just, like I said, this is one of my top 5, and I just really, really enjoy it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sign off. Thank you all for sharing your artwork. Well, thank you. Your talent really, really shows. And thanks to everybody who's exhibiting. Thanks for sharing your artwork with us. We obviously couldn't do what we do if you didn't do what you do. And we and the town of Annapolis appreciate it very much. So thanks so much. And we will see you at our next reception, which will be February 12th.
Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, Erin. Thanks, Evan.